when you're raising kids, right? The parent is the one that's adult. It knows what the kid needs, and so it disciplines the kid. And sometimes that means the kid is very unhappy, okay? And it's like sometimes the kids hate the parent because the parent doesn't always seem to understand the kid, right? When something upsetting happens in your life, what is the first thing you do? Most of us go into a panic mode, right? We start to panic, we lose our brain, and we don't know what to do with ourselves. However, there is a way that you can transcend that. There is a way that you can change situations when they go wrong. You can learn to navigate painful situations, difficult situations, in a way that you will no longer see them as difficult. They will no longer be seen as painful to you because you will learn to see them as opportunities. You will learn to take chances and capitalize on whatever is going on in your life in order to make the most of it, because it is possible. This is how we're meant to be living. We're meant to be living in a way that is beneficial to us because life is here for us, and we don't see that. We don't necessarily actually ever even want to think about it that way because of how much pain we've gone through, right? We're like, well, the universe is against me, but it's like raising your kids. If you have kids or any kind of kids, when you're raising kids, right? Normally, when a kid is young and the parent tries to discipline the kid, what does that look like? The parent is the one that's adult. It knows what the kid needs, and so it disciplines the kid. And sometimes that means the kid is very unhappy, okay? And it's like sometimes the kids hate the parent because the parent doesn't always seem to understand the kid, right? But that's the kid's perspective versus the parent's perspective, and we can see the bigger picture of what is actually going on. So we could think of it in terms of us in this physical human body and our ego selves being like the kid. Our higher selves, the God, the mind, the intelligence, being like the parent. So what is important for us to do is to be able to see that bigger perspective. The fact that sometimes things that happen in our lives are not meant to be painful. They're not meant to be hard. They're not meant to be anything. It's just there for us to learn and grow. Just as kids, when they learn and grow, they develop and they become more of what they're meant to be, right? You want the kid to grow, you want him to develop, and you want him to be a well-grown adult that knows how to function in society. Therefore, you will do what is best for it, right? And again, sometimes it means the kid is going to be very unhappy, he's going to throw tantrums, he's going to try to resist, he's going to probably hate you for a little while, but you know that the kid is learning. This is what the kid needs. He will learn, he will grow, and he will be okay. You know that, but the kid doesn't. It's the same with the universe. The ego self, when we are hurt, we are just hurt. We're like that kid. We don't understand what is going on. When we grow older and we mature, we then look back on our life and we're able to see that indeed the situations that we had that were painful, they were actually there for a reason. If you look back on your life, right, if you have gone through something painful and difficult in your life, that challenge has made you stronger, has it not? It has made you grow. You have learned something, and therefore it is the same as if though we are a kid that goes through something. The parent trains us through something that is very uncomfortable. We go through that discomfort and we learn how to do it better. So then as we grow and mature, we are then able to be properly grown adults and function in society. It is the same principle. And so it makes sense that every time something painful happens, we try to understand that there is a bigger picture. We try to understand that it's not meant personally to us. There is a reason for it, and there is a lesson there. If there is one thing, there's always a lesson. There's always, in any situation, in any event, regardless of what it is, there's something we can learn. Even if it's just practicing being present, okay? Sometimes it's just that. It really depends on what it is, but if you look really hard, we can always learn. It can be as little as just learning to be grateful for the smallest things, because nothing is really ever a given. Like you're watching this on a device, most of us have a roof over our head. It's not a given. None of that is a given. Even the situation of, anything. It's just not a given. It's like I could probably rant about it for hours on end. The fact that nothing is really ever a given. And so it makes sense. When something happens in your life, ask yourself, Is it actually personal to you? Or is there a way you can benefit from it? Is there a way that maybe you or and I as well, and just all of us, same as that kid, when something happens to us, can we learn to see the bigger perspective? And can we learn to understand that it's there to make us grow and learn? And when we will, the situation will go away. Situations are only in place in order to teach us something. When they do, they go away. If you're trying to discipline a kid and you're trying to get him to do his homework on time, but he's just not doing it, and you kind of you keep yelling at him and you keep yelling at him, or you keep doing something that makes him very uncomfortable. Maybe you just don't give him TV until he does his homework, right? That's the lesson. He needs to do the homework. When he learns that, when he does the homework, he'll get the TV. Okay, it's like there is no more need for that situation once the lesson has been learned. And so I think if we look at it that way, if we approach life that way, it becomes a lot more enjoyable almost. It becomes a lot more pleasant because we don't take it so personal. The painful situations in our lives, we learn to look at them in a slightly different way, because if we're able to step out of the perspective of the kid and step into the perspective of an observer of what is actually going on, because sometimes we don't have that perspective of our higher self. We don't always have that perspective of the parent. We don't always know what we're learning, right? It's kind of like that's why we suffer so much, because we don't know what it is that we're learning, because we're that kid. And that parent is that's putting us through pain, and we don't know why. But one thing we can do is step out of that kid perspective and step into being the observer, knowing that the parent is doing that to us for a reason. We may not know the reason, we can find it, and then when we do, the situation will go away. But even though we may not know right away, that most we can do is just trust that it's there for a reason. The parent knows what we need, and it's doing the best that it can in order to make sure that we can function in the best way that we can and become the best versions of ourselves. And I think that can really help in many different ways, and it has helped me personally as well. And yeah, I hope that made some sense, and thank you for watching.